as a younger channel, we don't have any YouTube liaisons to reach out to. It's just when they decide to strike our channel down, it's over for us.
I'm joined by Nick Cruz, the co-founder of the revolutionary Blackout Network. I'm sure most of you know him well. Hello, Nick.
Hey, what's poppin', Lee?
Hey, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm going to say something to you that I have heard many times over the past year, and it has been cold comfort, but I'm sorry to see this happening to you. I have heard that much. But right now, you guys have just gotten a second strike on YouTube for like crazy old videos. Is that right?
Yeah, and you're one of the most censored comedians in America, so I know you know my pain right now, and that's why I appreciate you bringing me on as well. And that's how I know they're gonna get rid of us here soon, because we got a strike on something that was absolutely nonsense anyway, because we just played a clip from the EU and someone was talking about vaccines. So we got a strike for something that we didn't even say. We did the crime of doing journalism and repeating what someone else said.
Can't even reveal what the EU says now.
Yeah. So that gave us the first strike. So after that, we was very careful because we got a very important message, I believe, and we don't want to get in trouble. So unfortunately, this is the result of censorship. We decided to do absolutely zero coverage of COVID and public health or anything like that, because we don't want to risk that, right? So they know they had to give us 2 strikes.
Which, by the way, just to jump in here, is part of their goal as well. And you guys are not the only. I've done some of it myself, but is self-censorship to try and get us to avoid topics. Now they're trying to get people to avoid talking about RFK Jr. I think is one of the big things. Israel's another one. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and those are topics like we just had David Taboot and Aaron Good on to talk about how the CIA definitely, well, I should say, since you're alive, I don't want to get you in trouble, probably killed JFK, and I don't think it's coincidence that right after I have them on.
So that's interesting. I didn't realize that you just covered that topic, because my co-host on my other podcast, Government Secrets, he was demonetized right after we did 4 straight episodes on CIA involvement in the death of JFK.
I mean, there's a lot of crazy topics we cover, but I don't think it's a coincidence that we get to strike right after I have them on, and we do about an hour talk about the crimes of the CIA. We talk about JFK and all that, and then we get this other strike. And as I was saying before, we was very careful in terms of our coverage. Obviously, we're pushing the boundaries, but we knew we couldn't talk about certain things on YouTube. So since they couldn't get us on anything recently, they decided to go back in our library. And I can't even tell you why we got a strike, because they didn't tell you. They didn't tell us. They just pulled the video and said you had wrong thing here, or probably we just shared an article. Apparently there was this study between cannabis and COVID, and I couldn't even tell you what we said, because once again the video was absolutely pulled. But we would just report down on another study, but that's apparently wrong in this country. And that's why people like us
from a year ago.
Yeah, people like us on the left, we've been warning about this increased censorship, this merging of corporation, big tech, and state. It's very unfortunate that the narrative have been hijacked. Like if you see some of the congressional hearings regarding big tech censorship, it's been hijacked by the Marjorie Taylor Greene right, where the narrative that it's only the right that's being censored, it's only white supremacists and Trumpers. And at RBN, we said from day one, and you have said from day one, that it will always be used against the left. It will always be used against the working class. And it'll always be used to silence the black left in particular. So we actually knew we was always on borrowed time. I'm surprised it took us 2 years for us to really, for them to really start cracking down on us. So now that they dig into our library, it's only a matter of time before they shut us down, which is why we're trying to transition to Rumble and other platforms.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure everybody knows where to follow you next. But yeah, you sound the same way I did, which was I was amazed that I was allowed to continue a uncensored TV show for 8 years. It blew my mind. And so in that way, when it did get banned globally, and my YouTube channel, my original YouTube channel banned globally, I was kind of like, well, boy, they were actually a little late for there on that train. However, at the same time, you're like, fuck this. How is this freedom of speech? How is this freedom of press? How is this freedom to do journalism or talk about these issues? and it is just infuriating. And that's on top of all the shadow banning. Like, this is just full out, now you guys can't post something for like 2 weeks, but it's only 3 strikes and you're gone forever.
Yeah, and it's bone chilling as well, because I know it may sound selfish, but we know the theory behind censorship and why it's so scary and dangerous. And I know you can speak on this as well. It's different when it happens to you, right? Because the theory when it happens to you is extremely bone chilling. And we were banned for 2 weeks, but you guys got to think about it this way: that's half of our revenue for the month is gone. So we are being imposed financial penalties because of our speech. And we can try to be free speech mavericks. We can say, "Oh, screw the establishment." We can say whatever we want, but there's always be this lingering concern at the back of our mind. I mean, I got a little less lose than most, but you have CJ who have children. You have Rome at RBN who have children. You have the government aiding corporations in order so CJ and Rome can feed their children less, or we have less stability now because of our speech. So once again, we know the theory behind why this stuff is devastating, but when it happens to you, you really feel that bone chilling effect what our government is going through. Which is why I'm happy that we spoke up regarding your censorship before, Kit from Heartland Media. I mean, even before we were censored, we knew in theory why it was horrible and bad. But now that we're going through it ourselves, it's just extra bone chilling and extra really intimidating, because you got people watching you, going after you. And what's most revealing is when our first strike, they gave us a strike for playing a video. Then I went on my personal YouTube channel that I haven't used in a very long time, that has way less following because I'm not active on it.
Right.
And I played the same video plus way more ban worthy stuff, right? Because we was on Rumble as well. And we didn't get, in my personal YouTube channel, didn't get pulled. That tells me that they targeting us, because if it was a uniform
Right.
rule set, they would ban my personal YouTube, which I didn't care because I don't use it.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no way if like the Young Turks or something aired this exact same video you did that it would get them a strike or anything.
Yeah, and that's the infuriating part, because if you have the right message, if you are working for the establishment, you can say whatever you want. Why is there not the YouTube algorithm going back and flagging every single Russiagate video from MSNBC? If we're going
Right,
back to all the videos,
which is all made up. Yeah.
yeah. So that just shows that they are targeting us. So even if we win this appeal, even if we are extra careful, it's only a matter of time before they catch us slipping. And as a younger channel, we don't have any YouTube liaisons to reach out to. It's just when they decide to strike our channel down, it's over for us. We don't have giant capital that may influence decisions. It'll be over. And it's been a lot of work to build what we have. But go ahead, Lee.
What platforms? We'll say it again at the end, but what platforms do you want people to follow you on in case your channel does get shut down?
Yeah, we did the post duopoly show with Harlan's Media and Due Distance last night on Rumble, Revolutionary Blackout on Rumble. We had content on Rumble, but we're really gonna push that moving forward. We started going live on Rumble about 6-7 weeks ago. We had Jimmy on last Friday as well, so make sure you guys check us out on Rumble. Also post videos on Twitter, because I guess that's a thing now. So I have videos and lives that we post on my Twitter at Socialist MMA. You also can follow Revolutionary Black on Twitter, because you can see videos there as well.
At Socialist MMA, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Revolutionary Blackout, because both you can find videos of both Twitter pages, and that's also following us on Twitter is a good way to get links to our shows, because we upload every single day. So it's a great way to follow us.
Do you feel this shows, though, the weakness of how weak this empire is, this crumbling empire is, that the likes of you and me on a YouTube channel is apparently so dangerous that they have to shut it down?
So if you take any single individual person from MSNBC or CNN and they try to start a YouTube show, they will get 5 views. Like,
Right.
no one cares about them as a brand. They are forfeit on people. I go to the gym, you see Fox News, you go somewhere in
Yeah,
public, CNN,
every time if anyone watches one of my videos, the next up video is
yeah,
always like MSNBC or John Oliver or something. Basically, it's the algorithm saying, "Oh, sorry, little fella, you seem to have wandered into the wrong area. You head
yeah.
on back."
Yeah, and if you look at the reviews, maybe 80% of it is that. Maybe someone who left their phone on, it autoplayed to a CNN review. That's all the views. And that's why, to your question, that's why they censor people like us, because with alternatives, there's no reason to listen to Anderson Cooper anymore. There's no reason to listen to these clowns, and we do propaganda report all the time on RBN, because we know many people in our generation don't even watch it anymore, and we should show clips like of just corporate media, and
Yeah,
people who don't watch it, they are shocked at
yeah.
how awful it is. Like there's no competition. There's no way that corporate media can compete with you, compete with me, compete with Harlan's media, compete with anybody. And I'm just a college dropout. So it shows that how awful the empire and their puppets are, that just an ordinary college
And
dropout who just reads a little bit too much can do better than
well, that's the problem. You started reading.
them.
That's what I did. I did finish college. I didn't want to, but I did finish college. But I did my real reading after college. That's when I picked up, Hedges and Chomsky and stuff. But um, I was gonna say, yeah, when before they started this, suppressing of certain channels and shit like that, basically after the 2016 election, when Bernie came too close to grabbing the gold ring. Uh, Before that, my videos, before anyone knew my name, really were getting 25 and 50,000 views. Meanwhile, CNN's channel would get 1,000 or a few hundred
I
views,
remember that era.
because nobody would come to YouTube to see corporate media.
Yeah. And it's so obvious that they mess with the algorithm, because maybe a lot of newer people who follow politics maybe don't remember. But I remember that. I remember seeing your videos back in the day. I remember back in the day with seeing CNN, and the numbers were laughable.
Yeah.
And then the numbers switch just like that. You see a random CNN video with 500,000 views. That would never happen before, and that's definitely algorithm tampering. And it shows how desperate they are, that they can't have a free exchange of ideas, because I don't follow, I'm not subscribed to none of these channels, but I'll be watching your Jimmy or some other content, and all of a sudden I'll see a CNN or MSNBC video recommended to me. So the algorithm definitely favors them, and it's still not really helping them when you see the failing business model that CNN, MSNBC has. No one buys partisan rank corporate media no more. It's independent media is rising. That's why you're seeing YouTube pairing with Google and shutting us down, because they can't have that alternative to corporate media. Because especially when it comes to the new wars they're trying to push, I think that's the biggest reason why RBNs get taken down. I think they're going to be another wave. Not only us, there's going to be a lot of people taken out because of the upcoming election.
Yeah.
Because as the Ukraine war continues to wage on, and you have the empire that's planning to go to war with China, and they are planning a full NATO strategy to encroach on China and Taiwan. And as they do those things that are unjustifiable, you guys really going to see how authoritarian the West can get. We see it in France. We see it in the UK right now, how they cracking down on dissent. They just getting started. Once these wars really prop off, once the empires really start to die, it's only going to get worse. That's why people need to get louder, which is why we need to see even more people spread their voice on social media, independent media, any way possible.
Do you think revolutionary change can happen on platforms owned by oligarchs, owned by the ruling elite, who are trying to protect their wealth and their power?
Absolutely not. Now we need to use every tool that's available to us, and any opportunity we can have to reach people, we definitely should use. But this is just the one tool that we have. It's important to stay vigilant and organizing the streets. We had CJ organized, and he helped the homeless at the Skid Row. He organized and does that every month. Rome currently building a library. You know of his work. He travels around. There's a Boston RBN chapter opening with Savvy Sabs. We have a Kansas City RBN chapter open up here soon. We wanted to try a new project at RBN. And a lot of people don't know the origin, because I feel like there's either or. People will choose either or. Either I'm an on the ground activist, or I'm in media. And I never understood why people made that choice. Like we
Yeah.
wanted to be activists who have a YouTube channel. So not only are we engaged in activism, we cover stuff. We wanna normalize the voice of the proletariat. We want to normalize, honestly, communist voices as well in the media, while also being in the streets, also engaging, because people choose either or. We want to do both, and honestly, it confuses some people because they're like, "Oh, you're a YouTuber? No, we in the streets too. Like we do both."
No, I totally agree with you, and I think these times are too they're too dire, they're too important right now to just sit on the sidelines and say I'm just media. And I've always tried to be both. There was a time there during Redacted Tonight where basically in my first year, I think there, or maybe it was my close to my second, I got arrested at the Capitol, and they basically said if
Yeah.
you get arrested again, we're going to fire you. So so
Damn.
there was a time when Redacted Night was airing that I couldn't risk arrest, but I was still giving speeches at protests. I was still at all the Assange events and
Sure.
everything. So I was still mixing the two as much as I could. Now I'm free again, and so I'll be doing all kinds of shit. But
Yeah, and I don't want to. I feel like there's distorted effort to like discourage people, because we live in the heart of empire. Times are hard. People have to work a lot, and we stress that everyone has a role in this movement. Like if you someone for example, if you work 55 to 60 hours a week, you have 2 kids, but you are doing pretty well, but you don't got time to organize. Be a class trader. Be someone who funds people who run in projects like Rome. And if you have extra time on Saturday to bake pies or sew clothes for the movement, do whatever you can. And there's this nonstop pressure that people have, like, what can I do? What can I do more? We say, find your skill and find your way to contribute to the movement. You being a comedian, you educating people is a very important task. Having educators are a very important task. Having foot soldiers like Rome and other members of our being is very important. It is important to find your lane and find what you can do, but we got to understand not everyone can put blood, sweat, and tears. But if you can, you should, and that's what we want to encourage. Positive engagement to the movement. Don't be lazy. Don't try to get out of it, but do whatever you possibly think you can. Like me personally, like even training people in martial arts, teaching people how to cook, teaching people how to fish. Like these are mutual aid activities that can build towards a revolution. And these are concepts that the left haven't even talked about for years. I never heard it before RBN. And we just want to discuss these strategies, how we can move forward instead of just voting Democrat and hoping for the best every 4 years, which has been the U.S. strategy for a long time.
yeah, absolutely. Well, this may be another thing that has made you guys a little too dangerous for YouTube is the combining of activism with the message, which I have tried to do too. It's possible that some of those on YouTube who don't seem to get censored, it may have to do with the fact that they're not really encouraging activism. They're not encouraging uniting and fighting. I'm not saying all of them aren't. I'm just saying some might. And instead it's kind of just pure commentary of like this looks bad, or whatever. Like once you tell people to get in the streets and unite with others and fight back, that's when it really starts to take that next leap.
There are two things that I see, and I've been following independent media pretty closely in the last 3 years since I dived in. There are two things that keep you safe for the most part. If you tell people to vote Democrat at the end of your video,
Yep.
and you don't cover empire. And I mean, you can say whatever you want about Joe Biden. You can say whatever you want about Democrats. As long as at the end of the video, your message is vote Democrat and you avoid empire topics, they will leave you absolutely alone.
Yeah.
And we could have made those calculations and cover less risky topics. But what's the fun in that, right? Like, what's the
Absolutely.
fun in that?
Absolutely. No, listen, the revolution should have dancing. So thank you so much for being here, Nick. I want to make sure, again, people hear all those links and know where to follow you. The Rumble channel was rumble.com/revolutionary blackout. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You can follow us on Rumble, Revolutionary Blackout. You can also follow me on Socials MA, Revolutionary Blackout on Twitter, because we post links. Because we have other links like Rofkin as well, but Twitter is a great place to get a collected link. But right now, Rumble is our big push. So And Rumble is a very underrated platform. I used it when they first started, but they made a lot of great improvements since then. I actually do prefer that over YouTube. I'm not just saying that, but especially maybe I'm personally hurt. I prefer Rumble more than YouTube, so I highly recommend it. That's where we're gonna be pushing heavily. So once again, appreciate you having me on, Lee Camp. Obviously, very valuable voice on the left as well. So appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. Keep in touch, and I hope they don't delete your channel.
Yeah, hope so too. Have a good one, Lee.
Later.